In 1986, a diver looking for hammerhead sharks off a remote Japanese island found something that still divides professional geologists decades later: a massive stone structure with sharp right angles, sitting quietly on the seafloor. Even now, genuine experts on both sides of the debate can't agree whether it's natural or built. The Yonaguni Monument sits just off the coast of a remote, sparsely populated island at the far western edge of Japan's Ryukyu chain, discovered almost by accident by a local diving instructor named Kiichiro Aratake. He'd been scouting for a good spot to observe the hammerhead sharks the area was already known for when he came across a massive rectangular formation resting in shallow water, its edges strangely clean and deliberate against the surrounding reef. The structure is genuinely enormous, roughly 100 meters long and dozens of meters wide, sitting so close to the surface that parts of it are visible from a boat on a clear, calm day. Divers who've explored the site in the decades since describe long, straight edges, sharp 90-degree corners, and wide terraced steps that look, at first glance, startlingly deliberate for something found on the ocean floor. One particularly long, straight channel running through the formation has been nicknamed the Road by researchers who've studied it, flanked on both sides by vertical walls that rise with an unusual, almost architectural regularity. Some visitors even describe what looks like a face-like carving on one section of the structure, though that specific detail remains heavily disputed even among researchers who otherwise agree on very little else about the site. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura of the University of the Ryukyu spent nearly 2 decades personally studying the site, diving it again and again to document its features in painstaking detail. He points to what he considers clear, unmistakable signs of human work: precise right angles that occur far too consistently to be coincidental, deliberately drilled circular holes spaced at regular intervals, and carved marks he compares directly to an ancient regional script still used symbolically on the island today. Kimura's conclusion is a bold one. The site was deliberately carved by human hands more than 5,000 years ago, back when this entire stretch of seafloor sat well above water, exposed to open air. If that theory holds up, it would place sophisticated, organized stonework in this exact region well before most known ancient civilizations nearby, a claim significant enough to draw serious international scientific attention for decades. Not every scientist who came to examine the site walked away convinced of that particular story, though, and the pushback that followed came from researchers carrying just as much expertise and credibility. Geologist Robert Schuck of Boston University argued instead that the formations were fundamentally natural, at most possibly modified by human hands at some point long after they had already taken shape. Then, in 2024, a detailed academic study went considerably further still. Researchers examining the site closely reported finding no confirmed evidence of tool marks, deliberate cutting, or any human activity whatsoever at the location. Their conclusion pointed squarely toward ordinary geology. The specific type of sandstone found here is already well known to fracture naturally along strikingly straight, angular lines, given the right underlying rock structure and pressure. The natural explanation accounts for a great deal on its own. This particular type of layered sandstone genuinely does fracture into clean, angular shapes elsewhere across the region, and no archaeological artifacts of any kind have ever been recovered from the site itself. It doesn't fully explain the sheer coherence of the site taken as a whole, why so many angular, stepped, deliberately organized-looking features would cluster together so tightly in one single place, forming what almost looks like a coordinated layout, rather than scattering randomly the way most natural fracturing typically does across a comparable stretch of seafloor. Even the most skeptical researchers studying the formation still describe it, in their own published words, as unusually organized for pure erosion alone, a detail the natural explanation technically accounts for, but never quite fully dissolves. Decades of diving, 2 respected geologists on opposite sides, and 1 detailed academic study later, no one has proven this was built, and no one has fully ruled it out either. Tell me in the comments: an ancient structure lost beneath the waves, or one of nature's stranger coincidences? Subscribe to the Unburied. The ocean files continue from here.